Hello everyone, Dr. Shado here, giving the commentary for my one old episode, The Stuff. This episode, it has a bit of history to it, because when I went about doing this one, this was also when I was trying to see if I could get on Channel Awesome, and around the time I was finishing this episode is when I actually got my email back from Rob Walker, the second half of Channel Awesome, and I got my lovely rejection letter. So, yeah, that is about one of the grand memories of this particular episode. But also, this episode was the first episode to be aired on Manic Expression, because at the same time I was getting my rejection letter from Channel Awesome, I was getting a message from James of Manic Expression inviting me over to said website. And at first I was going to just delete that, like, I don't accept poke invitations in MMORPGs, I don't accept friend requests from people I don't know who you are, I don't know anything about this, what is this Manic Expression, I don't care. And then I stopped for a second and I thought, well, what's the harm in looking? And I just checked out Manic Expression from there, and it actually looked around me, up my alley, so figured, what the hell, and I just went over to Manic Expression, got in touch with Les early on because I couldn't figure out how to post things properly and I didn't want to upset anyone, and eventually everything got sorted out, and this was my first episode posted on Manic Expression, and on that it was actually a pretty good way to start, because still looking back, I do enjoy the way this went quite a bit. I don't have too many issues with the way it was edited, except for one thing that is kind of throughout the whole episode. Unfortunately, the viewfinder on my camera is only on the back of it. You can't twist it around and turn it, because I have pretty much a digital camera, not a actual camcorder with a viewfinder you can flip around to the front if need be. So I can't really check the angle before I can't check the angle of where I will be sitting unless I record a bit and then go back and watch it, and I have to change the angle in order to watch it, so I have to change it back, so I really can't check in the middle of it. So the angle here is actually quite a bit down. You see, it's actually cutting off part of my head, and in certain angles it kind of messes up. But on the other hand, you can completely read my shirt, and I did specifically pick this shirt out to match with the subject of the film. Of course, you see it says there, I do whatever the voices in my head tell me to do, and in the stuff in question does have a mind control component to it. But yeah, the beginning of this movie really did confuse me quite a bit, because it starts off a bit strange, but it's got an obvious budget despite being B-movie. They still filmed it pretty well, which, yeah, a lot of B-movies in the 80s had that same kind of style. But I don't know, maybe it's just a nostalgic feeling that I really like about that kind of style. But I always find it to have a certain quality to it that I personally attribute as being high quality. Yeah. This part.
Would you tell him this for me?
Clearly a genius.
And yeah, they did have a slight argument before that in the film, before the big discussion with all of the top brass of the ice cream companies. But
soon enough, we are shown
the things in this film just happened really quickly, and it was hard to give the gist of a lot of the scenes because, well, I mean, a lot of it I actually, of course, didn't show because it was the little side scenes that were kind of joking and didn't really have any effect on things, so you don't need to go into them. So unless I can get a good amount of humor out of it, I try to avoid showing too much. Give a little, like I said before in another commentary, give it a little reason for the viewer to actually track down the movie if they feel like it.
So, next time there's a big oil spill or polluted groundwater or a flight of acid rain, Don't worry about cleaning it or anything. Just hire the ad agency from M&M Mars to fix it.
My shell is brown.
Oh, boy.
It just looks like my milk chocolate.
Why did I
is
use
showing.
this commercial
Only
in
a
it?
fool would think I'd actually show
What was I
up
thinking?
naked.
Works every time.
So it's that kind of party. Hit it!
I'm sexy.
No,
Alright.
no. I had enough of that song.
Indeed.
But then, we see a grocery store where Jason is walking around
Yeah, this was a scene that could have been omitted, but it was just so random,
He
and
even gets his hands on a rake.
I mean,
and
he
starts tearing
just
the displays up
really
around the
didn't have
store.
much build-up to going crazy and smashing things at all, so...
It is a horror
It was
movie,
certainly
and
worth
the stuff
commenting
does
on.
kill you,
But,
this
oh
kid
yeah, when
only
I
saw
first
it
posted
move
this to
4
Manic
inches.
Expression, it actually got a
Once!
very, very
Is this
positive
kind of a
reaction,
big
and it was the
thing
first
to go on a
time I
rampage
was
based
really
off some
getting
little
that
information?
strong of feedback at all. Oh, that was an interesting jump cut there. But kind of worth it for... I think if I would have redone that, I probably would have positioned it elsewhere, like at a actual dining table or what have you. But in the old apartment, I didn't have a dining table anyway.
This introduces us to
But
Chocolate
nevertheless,
Chip Charlie, played
when
by
this was
Garrett
posted to
Morris.
Manic Expression, I got a lot of comments back about myself actually having a very professional reviewing style, and after, of course, being rejected by Channel Awesome rather immediately before posting this, I thought that was quite interesting. It was quite a shift of how I was being regarded. On YouTube, I had still only about 50 subscribers, if that, and Channel Awesome had just rejected me, and then Manic Expression invited me, and then almost immediately, if not immediately, was giving me quite a lot of praise for my work, and I was like, wow. But yeah, Chocolate Chip Charlie, very entertaining character that really was very much underutilized in the movie, in my opinion. Maybe the director or writer had a different idea of how the character should come out, of course, but I don't know. I like the idea of having the buddy with the detective style, and he's entertaining enough in the scenes, but then, of course, they got rid of him. Dang it.
Well, I guess if at first you don't succeed. They asked the postman a few questions, but
yeah,
he begins to behave oddly.
when I came to deciding to review the stuff, it actually was one of the requests I received from a friend in, a personal friend in actual contact with, not online, just face to face. Someone who actually had not watched any of my reviews anyway, but just knew that I did film reviews, and for that reason they said, okay, you have to review the stuff. And to which I responded, the hell is the stuff? I had no idea what this movie was. I had never heard of it, and they pretty much just explained that it was something that would make you absolutely fear yogurt for the rest of your life, and that just confused me further, and personally I still like yogurt, so I don't know what they were talking about there, but overall, what I eventually found in the stuff, I must say I'm happy that I did watch it. I'm happy for what requests I still get. I wish I could get to all the requests.
Escaping into the boat.
I mean, part of it is money and getting the movies themselves. Another part is because now I'm over 1,000 subscribers. Now I actually have a slight problem finding the time for all of the requests. I'm thinking, well, there's things that I want to do that haven't been requested, and I'd really like to get to them. If I just do the things that I've been requested to do from now, if no one else requests anything for the end of time, it would still take me at least a year and a half to tackle all of the different requests. But oh well,
he's an executive because his office is
still,
ridiculously huge.
Yeah, make requests. I do like hearing what people want, and if it happens to also be the same as what I want, then great. But I'm still going to try and do what I want, whether or not it's been requested, and I will not have the time to get to every single request.
That's not a job, that's a bribe!
Yeah.
But suddenly, he's talking to Nicole, who is highly upset that the
And
stuff
then
is
the
actually a dreadful crime
the
that she
relationship
helped promote.
between him and Nicole that just
Wait,
kind
how'd
of
she find out so fast? According to the rest of
explodes
the world,
into it.
the word
Just
isn't out yet.
it was kind
And
of
when
strange
Mo
in the
tells her
movie looking
truth
back,
about
because
him,
of course you
she
had
responds unusually
the
positively.
hero and the buddy, and I liked how that was going. And then they got rid of the buddy almost as quickly as they added him, and then they bring Nicole up as the buddy slash partner slash damsel
So
character,
suddenly
and
they start working together to try and get to the bottom
it
of the stuff.
was really
Charlie had better chemistry with Mo than Nicole does.
it was a really
But he
interesting
quickly
little
learns about Jason from a newspaper and
switch
heads out
in
to meet
the
up with him.
film.
Jason,
But as
meantime,
they went
is
into the lab
witnessing
there,
his
that was
family
actually
being
another
taken
scene which
over
I
by
had
the stuff.
previously not shown because
All microorganisms move.
I didn't find it quite necessary, though they did explain why the people don't know exactly what the stuff is made of, and they don't have to release the
And they
formula
forcibly
to
prevent
the
his
public
escape to make sure he
as
starts
for
eating
the
stuff as well.
protection of the company for their secrets in their ingredients, like why, and their example was Coca-Cola,
It would
as
be
why
a hell of a lot easier if
the
you
Coca-Cola
just force
company
feed it
does
to
not
him.
have to release the exact
Saying.
formula they use
And evidently,
for Coke.
consumption of the stuff is very detrimental to one's
And-
hearing, as nobody in the family notices Jason flushing it down the toilet.
The extremely loud
Then,
scene that
using
no
a
one in
can
the
of
family
shaving cream,
notices.
He makes the perfect ruse before he runs for it.
I personally
Now, while that is crafty and pretty
think
convincing,
that if he's
you
that,
had windows you could have climbed out of. And
it's not
they
good
weren't
for me to
barring
do a
the door
commentary
or
when I'm
anything,
laughing
they
at
were just
my own
going about their
video.
lives on the lower floor. You could have just
Maybe I
run
should have
for it
watched
at
it a couple of
any time.
times to get all the laughs out of
Jason
my
does
system.
catch Mo and escape to the tarmac, meeting Nicole.
But yeah, he got quite a bit of distance away from his zombie family, despite how quickly they were moving. And they did explain in the film that
that really
actually
the best way to
the
impress your
stuffies, as they are,
kidnap
simply
a child
don't
and bring
get
home?
tired. They don't
So they
sleep,
land in
and
Midland and head off to
they
the
don't
factory,
run out of
but-
breath when they run. So it's kind of
The
a
postman?
bit different than the normal kind
How
of
the hell did
zombie
he
that
get
is more lethargic.
What, was he holding on to
Like
the
half
other side of
asleep
the
their whole
airplane the whole
time, though of course zombies don't
The stuff
sleep.
attacks, but Jason
They're just
easily
kind of
escapes and runs
undead.
away.
I don't think I need to explain to people what zombies are.
Starting to feel a lot less threatened by this monster.
But yeah, I have no
He does
idea
manage to
what
find the
the
stuffed truck, however, so
how
trying to remain hidden, he
the
climbs inside the chamber. Big
postman
surprise, one of
managed
the
to
workers
get
closes the hatch and traps him
into
inside.
nearly as many places as he did. And the face slap. I've been getting some comments recently about don't smack yourself on the forehead so much. But I don't know. I kind of like the quickness of it. I found it. The first time I did the forehead slap was in the Requiem review, and that was just sort of. I had been scripting myself to do some face palms at certain times, and that's just how I did that one. It was rather quick, and I found myself liking exactly how.
Here's a reminder.
I saw an editing mistake there. Dang it! There's a frame of myself out of place. Crud. That's not good.
But lo and behold,
I thought this was my nice professional review where I was doing things all good. Of course, the way I'm doing the editing now, those
the stuff.
Alright, my hands end up out of frame because it's positioned too low.
No, that's really not all that scary.
Oh well.
This set does have some pretty
But the way I
impressive use
do
of
most of
traditional
my
effects,
editing
though.
now, the
Escaping into the night, Mo and
extra
Nicole spot
frames
a
of the
stuffed
wrong
trucks.
position,
Where are they going
just
at this
flipping
hour?
in and out,
Good time to
don't
travel
happen
when you're
anymore,
on the
which
scene.
is considerably fortunate, I think.
Or it's just a
And
lot
I
easier to
thank that
travel when
long-haired
there are
creepy
less
guy for
people.
helping me to
I mean,
improve my editing
I work
skills.
overnights, and it's not because there's something inherently wrong
Well,
with
that
my
does
job.
remind me when I started
it's just that it's a lot
posting at
easier to
Manic
throw shit on
Expression,
shelves when there
I
aren't any extra people
Didn't
around.
actually,
They follow the trucks.
I mean, a
and
lot of
sneak
the
up
people on
and
Manic
find a
Expression
quarry where
knew
the
each
stuff
other
comes
from
up
the
from
That Guy with the
inside
Glasses
earth.
forums, and I posted a little bit on That Guy with the Glasses blog section, but I never really went to the forums, and I didn't
know,
really
this is
know
unbelievable!
people there,
All this
and I was
time!
actually
They
very
could have been
new
marketing it as
to
organic and charging
the
twice as much.
community and trying to post a little log series in a similar
Or you can
vein
take a
to that
picture.
guy with the glasses and
You had
Channel
that
Awesome.
camera at the factory.
So
where is it?
when
And
a lot of the people
how
at
the
Manic
hell is the
Expression
truck
already
full of
knew
this
each
stuff
other
going to
before
help
the
you
site started,
without
I
photographing evidence
was
to
very
find out where
new
it came from?
to that entire
After he
community.
plants some
And
charges, Mo quickly runs into the very truck that Jason happens to be trapped in. It really is a small Deus Ex
I remember
Machina after all.
that guy with another glass, that
However,
long-haired
Jason's
creepy
already
guy,
facing off
was
against
one of the
stuff,
first people I took notice
who
of.
seems to be the non-violent
in,
variety, as it could easily just
Manic
kill him at this
Expression.
point, but instead just wallows in a pool
Yeah, that's a
of,
very bad green screen right there, but
itself.
oh well.
But Mo comes to the rescue, stealing the truck and setting off the charges, blasting the surrounding
yeah, I
rocks
remember,
into the pit, burying the stuff.
Reading
Yeah, that'll show them.
reading
if
some
they
of
want the stuff,
that
next time they
long-haired
come
creepy
here,
guy's work
they'll
and
be
watching
mildly
a couple of
amused.
his videos early on.
But
I made
Nicole
a
makes it back to the
couple
pickup
comments. I
where-
don't think he commented back, but I don't know. It's been several months. I
The
could probably
fucking
check
postman
now, and
again?
that he might
Through
have
rain
posted
or snow
something.
or sleet,
I don't
he
know.
will rush into every scene to try and kill the characters.
Oy.
Thank God Mo shows up in
And
the
the
nick of
postman
time to
finally dies.
kill him off. Then,
I
rescuing
still
Jason from the
wonder
suddenly much more
how
violent
he
stuff,
managed
they
to
escape the
last
area.
as long as he did and
Completely
get to all the
forgetting his plan
locations
to use
he
the
did.
truck as proof, Mo instead drives it to meet up with Plan B, Colonel Spears.
And
Depicted
yeah,
as
in
the
this scene
somewhat
when they walk
paranoid
up to
super
Colonel
patriot,
Spears,
Mo has no
they don't
difficulty
just
convincing him to
waltz
help
right
him
up to him. He
defeat the
doesn't
evil mind-controlling
allow that.
dessert
They
product.
they stop the truck early and get a little bit forward,
Really
and
thought that
then
would
in
take a
the
whole lot
big
more
field, a
convincing.
bunch of
So
soldiers
the new
jump
plan is
out
underway,
and
one of
hold them up at
Spears' men uses the
gunpoint.
stolen
So
truck to
it's a
convince
bit more
stuffed
interesting
factory
than
worker to open the
it's
gates.
shown in my
However,
review, but that wasn't entirely necessary for the plot itself. So, like
you
I
were
said,
gonna go in guns blazing.
cut certain
Why didn't
aspects.
you
So
just
this
ram
review
the
still
gates?
came out
There was
to
a chain
25
link
minutes.
fence. I'm pretty sure the truck
So
would win.
it
And
certainly did
I
not
didn't
need to
really
be
know this
longer.
guy 'cause we
I
didn't
try
really
to
know his
aim for
name,
20 minutes.
but
It's
come on, he had an awesome
partially
stash.
because
But the rest of the workers show no resistance. Instead,
I want to
falling back.
have
By
it
the time Mo and
worth
Spears find them, it looks
the
as if all
time
the
of
workers are
the
dead.
viewer,
Stuff
so
is
keep it
not
to
present.
get at least 20
So Nicole and
minutes would
Jason
be a
split
good
off from
thing
the
to
main
shoot
group
for,
and-
so that
Oh, for fuck's
it
sake,
feels
they
like
don't
an
know what's
actual
going to
legitimate
happen.
episode of something.
I have to say, the
But
effects here are actually
not
very
too
nice.
far
Nearly
beyond
seamless
20 minutes,
combination
certainly
of
not all the
traditional
way
miniature
to 30
effects
minutes if
alongside
one can
the
help
footage
it,
of
or
the actors
beyond
trying to
that,
escape the stuff.
because that is asking for
Shortly
a lot of
after,
time
the
from the
factory
viewer,
literally
and if it's
explodes
not
as the
all
stuff
worth
escapes,
watching, then
just sits there.
that's just not a well put
the
together
fuck?
episode, in my
Is this
opinion.
monster supposed
I mean,
to
if
be
you have
bipolar?
something to say that really
Spears,
does
however, takes action.
legitimize using that
gonna leave
much
it where it
time, then go for it. But if it's just trying to get every little tiny detail, no matter how boring it
You're just
is,
gonna
in
leave it
there,
unmolested,
that's certainly
go off into a
unnecessary.
radio broadcast, hoping
So,
that nobody thinks you're crazy when you
And
start talking
while
to them about a
I
killer dessert
try and
product.
keep things shorter and sweeter, I do try and pay attention to
Taking a
exactly
convoy of
which
taxis,
parts
the
I'm
soldiers look
keeping
like
and
they're
which
about to
parts
perform
I'm
the
cutting
most
out,
epic drive-by
to try and
shooting
get a
ever
sort of
as they make it to the
distilled
radio station.
entertainment. Keep
But
all
finally,
the parts
after
that
almost
are
45 minutes missing in
important
action,
and all the parts that
Chocolate
are,
Chip Charlie returns
of course,
to the
funny, because
screen.
I like a good humorous
Oh, right,
video.
it's about time. He's almost old. What's Charlie gonna do here?
I was thinking of possibly having just the words on the
On
screen
the
there,
plus
kind of
side,
like I did in
these
the
are some of
Predators
best effects
review.
in the movie.
But one thing I
Of course,
didn't
they're
like
also followed
about
up by some
how
of
I
the
did
worst
it in
effects
that
in the movie.
review was the fact that it didn't
Mo
have any
fries the
sound
stuff,
with it.
Rescuing Nicole and Jason in the nick
Of course, I know now where I can get some effective sound effects,
America
or
is in grave danger.
sound effect
We are
effects,
under
or
alien attack
soundy.
by a
Ah,
substance
blah, blah.
which represents itself as a
Anyway.
popular dessert known as the stuff. If the stuff is in your house, do
just
not
love how
eat
they
it.
just
Repeat, I mark you, do not eat
pretty much
it. If you are a
improve their
merchant, have it on your
insane
shelves, do not
ramblings
sell
to
it.
broadcasted
If you happen to
insane
have a
ramblings, and
distributorship,
that's
distribute
the
the material.
catalyst that gets
Close your
everyone
doors,
to
make no more
follow
sales.
through.
Okay, so Colonel Spears has a following. I get
One
that.
slight
But
problem I
the
had in
general
this
population
video,
still
looking
views
back
him as
at
an
it, is the
extremist.
audio balance between
And
the
stuff controls
movie
people's minds.
and my
I really don't
speaking
think they're
parts.
telling them it's
That's
bad
something
over
that I
the
did
radio is going to change
improve
that.
on in future videos, because, well, one problem with Power Director is the fact that you can't increase volume of a clip beyond 200%. But there is a way around that. You simply copy the audio that you want to improve beyond 20%, and paste it over itself in
Do they
another
all
clip.
act like Jason and jump
And-
to conclusions based on ridiculously
Well,
limited
that
information?
mostly works, except
Fucking A!
if you notice in
Real
certain
people behave
reviews,
like this.
in certain reviews of mine, there are
You know what? I'm gonna go find out.
there are points where it actually has a little echo effect, and that's a bug in Power Director where it sometimes doesn't have it process aligned when it is set up
I'm Decker
aligned
Shado.
ahead of time.
Dr. Shadow.
Yes, I'm Decker Shado.
Oh yeah, but here, I wanted to do something a little more with my reviews, so
Say
I
that in a hypothetical
actually
situation, a
went out
popular dessert product has been
and,
condemned on a single radio broadcast
this
by
was
a
actually where I
person
work,
with
so I figured it was a safe
disreputable,
place to
personality
pull a few
who says
interviews
that it is
because
a alien mind control
I already
substance
know
and
the people that
demands
I'm
all people
talking
who
to, though
own
they
it
didn't
or
know what the hell
sell
I
it
was doing, so
just,
it's
go out
still
and collect it
kind of
up,
interesting,
burn
and I
it,
got
smash
some
it, and destroy it, and
very
what have
nice
you. What do you do?
Fuck it. I'm gonna collect it and run it, show it to everybody. Destroy it and say, no. We're gonna run it, man. That's
Yeah,
what you
Sheila
do.
had some interesting
Peace.
things to
I'm not going to answer that question.
say about how to pull certain things off in my questions, but
yes, a mind control is
yeah, I figured I could go around here for like an hour or so
Thank you very
with the
much.
camera, and I wouldn't be thrown out because I work there, and I could even if someone who even if one of the managers started to question what I was doing, I could still explain the situation quite a bit, but it was actually done, I think, 1 or 2 days after this recording, so I didn't know exactly what reaction to have, so I just kind of
But
gave
as our
a
story comes to a close,
general,
we get an ending that I can believe is a bit
shrug
more feasible, as some shady
as
characters
my,
come together to deal with stuff.
sitting back on the couch reaction.
I know it looks silly to have a
And,
dessert depicted in the same manner
Yeah,
as cocaine.
if I
but honestly,
had
if
recorded
Dr.
the
Pepper
reaction
ever got
after
outlawed, I'd be out there in an alley
the
wearing a trench
interviews,
coat.
of course I would
So that
have
was the stuff.
reacted
And after that,
somewhat
I'm
differently,
more interested in
but
tracking
I'm still
down
glad
Ray
that the reaction
Cohen's
was
IMDb
neutral
page
enough.
And seeing what else he's worked on, because I really enjoyed this movie. It's set
And,
up like
yeah,
a
I did
general
actually
horror
look
flick,
at the
and going
IMDb
by the
page
various
and,
trailers I've seen, including
see
one
the
on
other
this
things,
DVD,
and there were
it was
several that I
advertised as a
would
horror
like to
film.
check out, though
But
I
the
still
way a lot of the dialogue
haven't
and
actually
performances
got them,
I honestly consider
sadly.
this to be a horror comedy. And
But,
that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you
yeah,
love
it's,
B-movies for light-hearted horror with silly scenarios
the
you can
commercials
simply have a
in
good time
this,
with, this movie is absolutely perfect.
movie
The
were
premise is
so
simple, and the
over the
morals are
top
pretty
and
obvious when
ridiculous,
they come
and
up,
they
but the
just
pacing is
screamed
very
80s
quick and never
cheese in
sticks on one
commercials.
scene
It was
for
just
very long. The acting
wonderfully
ranges from
done, in
honestly
my
good
opinion.
to
Though I
laughably
still
bad,
wonder
but I can't help but
whether or
feel
not
the
in
bad
that
acting
scene
might
that's supposed to be
actually have
snow
been intentional.
or other
And
stuff
on a
on
movie
the
like
ground.
this,
I
it
assume
helps
snow,
the
but
feel in a way.
considering it's the same
The horror
color,
of it
it's
is honestly pretty
hard
lacking,
to
though.
discern.
While some of the effects are really well done, white goop isn't all that scary. And the stuff is a pretty inconsistent monster in its base form.
I'm
The
trying to
scariest
remember
scene to
other
me
things about.
was where
Oh yeah,
Jason
that's
talks to
Zaxxon
his
in the
family
background.
While they have all been taken over by the stuff. Even though nothing really
I played
happens,
Zaxxon on an
you
old
know
Tandy
something's
1000
coming, and it has a nice
way back
building
in the day,
tension to it.
in the 80s.
Finally, the
I
humor
don't know what he
is
was doing
wonderful.
with it on
If you're
the
a fan
PC
of B
on the
movies, this
on
film
the
isn't
TV.
exactly
I'm not sure if there were
self-aware,
Zaxxon
but still
machines,
gives some silly
so to
lines
speak.
that seem to rib on its own genre. A rating, though, is really hard to come up with.
Yeah,
for such a
this was a
If you
like I
want
said, this was a hard
high-quality
movie to
serious
rate.
horror, this movie
Because,
only
I
serves
had
up one
been
serving of
doing
stuff out of
the
5.
1 to
For
5
B-movie
star
fans that appreciate silly
reviews.
humor,
Back
this could
when I
rate
was doing the
5
Alien
servings
Predator
out of
Total
5
Destruction
for you.
Collection, I
But
reviewed the
by
action
its
and the
own
horror
merits,
aspect
ranked up
separately.
in quality and execution
And
compared to
after
other
that, I
films in this
figured,
genre,
no, that's
I guess the stuff rates
that's overly
3 servings out
complicated,
of 5.
and usually people just take
I
the part
complained
that they
about them
don't
being
like
monster
and
being
complain about that.
inconsistent.
So just give one
Oh well.
whole
Thank you all for
review
watching.
for the
I've been Decker
entire
Shado, and remember,
movie instead.
point-based movie rating systems don't always work.
But when it came to the stuff, there's a extreme difference in how much I liked it versus exactly objectively what it even was, and how it was compared to others at the time. Is just a really, really unique horror movie, and for that, that's one of the reasons I personally like it. But also, you notice I use the commercial jingles here on the credit sequence, but none of them were long enough for the entire credit sequence, as my credit sequences tend to... Oh, and I spelled Sheila wrong there. Sorry about that. It's an I before the E. Or, is it I before... I can't remember. Or is it E before the A? I don't know. Point is, I spelled it wrong. As you can tell, I still don't know how to spell it. But, yeah, none of the commercial jingles were long enough for the 1 minute credit sequence, unfortunately. But I had plenty of clips to choose from for the end of credits joke, and I settled on this one. But, there were a whole lot more that I could have done, and yeah, this horror comedy at its finest. I still highly recommend it, and, well, I guess that's the end of the commentary. I'm still talking way beyond when I should have already stopped. So, I bid ye farewell, and I continue to hope that I will get back into reviewing movies very soon. Thank you all for watching.